was the governor of New Mexico. Governor Gary Johnson was governor, and we'd ride together, him on his bicycle, me on my Harley. And he knew all about the militia, had no problem with it. You know, here, Governor, if you need assistance, just call. We'll be there.
Well, you know that right now we're cutting back on the use of coal, and they shut down all these mines. And my son had to come back here to Kentucky, which is where we live now. And while we were in New Mexico, he drove one of our demo engines all the way out to deliver to one of our customers, and rather than shipping it, because he was going to drive out here to go home for a weekend anyway. And while he was out here, he ran into a bunch of guys that own the mines, and a couple of guys that were CNN and other big companies, and they all stood around and watched the little engine running on coke and on all these fun fuels. And then one of them said, well, will it run on coal? He said, well, hell, let's try it. So he pours in a couple cups of coal dust, mixes it with some water and soap, and pulls the rope, and the engine starts up with no pollution. And they're all looking at each other, and the four-letter words poured out. There was a couple preachers there, too. And they're going, holy blank, it runs, and there's no pollution. Well, we don't have to have pollution from coal, but I'm not approved. So we can't use my technology at a power plant or in your car or anything else unless you want to use it for personal use only. The government doesn't want this getting out to the public.
Oh, it would interrupt their cash flow. It would interrupt their cash flow. How much do they make off of every gallon of gasoline in there? Oh, and if you get twice their mileage, they're going to get half of the money, aren't they?
Yep.
You know what I just...
Taxes,
Paul,
they get it in political contributions.
Paul, yeah, that's one of my pet peeves here. We Americans donated $1 billion to the Republicans and Democrats last presidential election, and my God, what choice did we have? Barack Obama and John Songbird McCain, you know, yep. a traitor work with the Vietnamese. And by the way, that doesn't mean I think the Vietnamese were the bad guys. We were. Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag.
Yep.
But I just saw a video that was talking about the chemtrails and found out what they're doing with that coal dust is using it as a carrier as part of the chemtrails. They're trying to kill us with that. Your device cleans up the coal. Of course they can't have that. They want to kill us, Paul.
Well, yeah. Now I got to ask you a question. You started that sentence out with one of your pet peeves. Now I've got every pet store I can. Where the hell do you buy a pet peeve?
Yeah, I'd say we're all testes. We're all part of. We're lab rats in a grand experiment. And they don't want to feed all the lab rats, so they got to eliminate 2/3 of the lab rats, and that's you Americans out there, folks.
Well, if they only got rid of 1% of them, there'd be enough money for everybody. They're going after the wrong group.
Well, I've always said we're putting the wrong people in jail. Put somebody in jail for smoking a joint or having a little bit of cocaine in their pocket, man. You're putting the wrong people in jail. We need to put the banksters in jail. We need to put the politicians in jail. We need to put the lawyers in jail. They're working for the
There's a lot of that I was reading in my new book, and I know that when people read it, they're going to laugh because I'm also telling them in their little tips on how to really mess things up in those areas, because I haven't found an attorney yet in the United States that has a business license. They think they're exempt from the law, so they have a bar license, but it's not issued by the state, it's issued by England. So what license do they have to even operate? You can't have a lemonade stand? I got a problem with that one.
these attorneys are all foreign agents working for the British Crown. And their offices are right there in the City of London, probably right next door to the Rothschilds, who they work for.
No idea.
But, you know, and I don't know that this, they certainly tried to kill me a little over 10 years ago. And the reason may have been the Liberty Village, because I suggested that people could get together in a village, probably the only sensible thing Hillary Clinton ever said, that they could do these villages, and if you could grow your own non-genetically modified food and run your cars on GEET or your homes on the sun and the wind, and not to mention magnetics, and I'd like for you to talk about that, because I was kind of floored when the last time I saw you at a Tesla convention in Albuquerque, that there was no magnetic generators out there. Now, Paul, I've seen a demonstration where they took a little steel ball and put it in what looked like a bicycle wheel on a it was just spinning freely. They would spin freely on an axle, probably a little bit of grease on the axle, and they put a steel ball inside that bicycle wheel. It was kind of like an inside-out bicycle wheel, and that ball, then they put a permanent magnet on the outside of the bicycle wheel, and it pulled that ball towards it and made the bicycle wheel turn. And I remember when I was a kid, I had a little generator that clipped onto my the forks of my bicycle, and had a little rubber wheel that went up against the wheel, and I had a headlight. I was generating a headlight, and so this certainly this permanent magnet and this steel ball and this squirrel cage would run forever.
Yep.
A true over-unity device. How hard, I mean, we've got Tesla building electric cars. How hard would it be to put a generator or an alternator on each wheel of that Tesla vehicle? Wouldn't it run all the way across the country?
Yep.
So we have...
There's so many of these. Now, last year, you didn't go last year to the Tesla conference there. If anybody wants information on that, it is coming up in about 3 weeks. That's teslatech.info, and they're in New Mexico from the 30th to, I think, the 3rd of August. This year, they're going to have this, I was told they're going to have the same demo on an engine or a small electric motor hooked to a special battery that will give you about 45 miles an hour on a scooter. When you stand on like the old-fashioned ones, where you just stand straight up and you can go like a bullet. Well, these little things take off and they go and go and go. And after 3.5 days, you still didn't need to charge it. Wow. Now, can that be done in a bigger application? Of course it could. You think they're going to let them get away with an over-unity device? They made a mistake. They applied for a patent. It might take them years to be told no.
Let's see, Tesla had well over 100 patents. Didn't do him much good, did it?
Nope. No, the patent is only a way the government gets to know what you're doing before you market it. And I prefer not patenting anything again. I made that mistake once with GEET. We're copywriting it. Now, if you want to go in there and look at it for your own use, for an education, go ahead and get the book and look at it. But don't republish my book anywhere where we'll file criminal action, because I don't want to see GM and big corporations coming and patenting it, keeping it away from people. I want people to get the education. I wasn't for sale before, and I'm not for sale now. It's so sickening when you hear people, even in this last month or two, call up saying, "You need privilege, do you?" Well, get off your lazy butt and build one. It's a simple thing. And how long does it take to take one apart and put it back together? 10 minutes?
Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, when you were demonstrating it back 35 years ago, everybody looked at you the same way they did me. Are you crazy? That's impossible. It's not in our book. They're going to figure out their books are wrong.
When is your book? When's your book going to be ready for publication? Are you going to do it? I've tried printing my books, and the only thing I got was hassles. So I put it all.
We're going to be doing ebooks. We're going to be doing ebooks by August 15th, I hope, and they'll be going through Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And then we're going to be doing a paperback and a hardback to a company out of the eastern part of the country here. They'll be handling all of our sales. You can also get an autograph book, which is only the bigger version, which is almost the same as a full-size piece of paper. I think it's 8 by 10. And that one, in the big book, it'll be a lot more expensive, but it also has complete plans and details on how to put it on specific equipment. But you'll be able to get the small one, the paperback or the e-book, for $29.95. And it's 37 years of the knowledge I've been able to gather, and all the knowledge and notes I could get from all the people who are dead from 100 years ago. They all had things to offer but didn't know how to word it. Plasma had not been discovered yet. And understanding nature sometimes can take a long time. I mean, how long was man around before we discovered gravity?
Yeah,
for years we thought the world was flat.
One of my guests in my chat room says, if we build anything that doesn't use fuel or plug into the electric grid so the Jews can make dollars, steal our monies, I mean, they will kill you or jail you. And you know that is true, because you spend 3 months locked up for refusing to...
Years.
Huh?
3 years. 3.5 years. 3.5 years. And they would have released me a lot sooner. They would have put me out of my misery if I'd have just signed the patent over.
And no recourse. Where is the recourse? It's the lawyers that are doing this, isn't it? I mean, the lawyers and the judges are all part of it, as my one of my regular guests on here, Carl Swinson, has pointed out. They're all members of the Bar Association. They work for the bankers, and so, by the way, does the FBI and CIA. Those organizations exist to protect the banksters' money.
Yep. They've got a corporation, and they're making money, and they want to continue making money. So I address that in the book. There's a couple of paragraphs that we're reading in the book that are not directly about plasma physics, but these are part of the obstacles you're going to hit. If you've got a corporation that does not want you to get away from fuel, and they don't want you to have good mileage. So it's judges like Royal Hanson that put me in jail, and right on the stand, he had the guts to say, and we've got copies of the tapes up on geekfriends.net. And the tapes, you can hear the judge say, "You do not have any rights in my courtroom. There is no Bill of Rights in this room. There is no Constitution of the United States."
Yeah, don't bring that Constitution into my courtroom. How many times have we heard this? Somebody just sent me a YouTube video, Paul, and you're right on, you're in the opening credits here. Inventor jailed for making this video. The GEET playlist and website links that include diagrams, schematics, and instructions for assembly are in the video description. And I've got that linked on my chat room. I will also link this on, put this up on the thing.
And for any of you who are Tesla fans out there that have gone to the Tesla conference or exotic research, Terry Brady just passed a week ago. We won't be seeing him there this year. So I just got that word the other day. I don't know if you got a copy of that.
I don't think I've got a copy of that yet, but now tell me where have you moved again? You don't have to be that specific because I know they do go after us. I don't put my address on anywhere.
Paul, if anything happens to me after the threat we had from the Southern Poverty Group, we've made it real clear now to all of our people worldwide. If anything happens to me, put the water plans up on the internet that day and make sure the whole world gets them. We don't need any stinking gas. We can run on water. But right now we're not sharing that publicly because I'd like to stay alive. But there's going to come a time where if you know how to build a GEET and you're only missing that one little part, that one little part will be so easy. Once you see it one time, you'll be able to build it and you'll never have that knowledge taken away. So we are out to educate people, but before you can go in and become a black belt, you need to go through some training. Build a little engine, build one for a generator, put it on a car, and when you say don't tie to the grid, no, everybody else says tie to the grid. Well, throwing a flag up in the air, a big red flag with blinking lights on it saying, I'm tied to the grid, I have more power than I need. You're inviting the government to come take your power. They don't want you to have that power. So stick with the small generator, backup batteries, inverters, and learn how to live a little less flamboyant. But don't disconnect the meter or your home will be condemned. We've had that, we've seen it now from California to Florida. If you try to go off grid in certain areas and you don't have the right backing behind you, you are going to catch hell for it.
Well, I've told people, Paul, that you can't give me a time in history. You can't point out a specific time in history when it was easy to be free. But,
yeah.
you know, I have written books and I am working on a new book to you, but I wrote it 45 years ago.
Yeah.
When I talked about a world which had abolished all laws against victimless crime, shut down the prison system, and people had all of the energy and all of the fuel that they needed to do anything that they wanted, at least in 46 states. And we, you know, at the time I wrote this book, marijuana was a crime in 50 states. Today, if you bribe a doctor, you can actually smoke it without going to prison for it. And you can cure your cancer with it without going to prison for it. But so we are making some progress here, and Colorado.
Okay, quick question for you. It just popped up on my internet. How are you broadcasting?
How am I broadcasting?
Yeah.
I am broadcasting all over the world. I am now broadcasting on the Rebel of Oz in Australia. I'm broadcasting on Veterans Today here in this country. And
the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Well, you can get me through Blog Talk Radio, which goes all over the world.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to say hello there to Dr. Johan, who just got a hold of me. He wants me on his show, and he has a science organization there. And he said, "Love what you're doing. Keep it up. Don't stop, no matter what." It was a pretty long email there, but he definitely wants to have me on the show as soon as possible. You're getting it out there. A lot of people worldwide do understand the problems, and they aren't just America. We got to stress that. I mean, look what's happening in Greece and other countries. And the stuff you hear about on TV and radio is just programming. It has nothing to do with what's really going on behind the scenes. It's all been all about dirty money and drugs, and the governments have always controlled the money. But it's not the puppet who's in the office. It's the people who put the money in his pocket. And if you look at how many billions of dollars oil companies make off fuel and research and everything else, and then how many billions of dollars we hand them on top of that, even though they don't pay taxes, we still hand them more taxpayer money to do more exploration and more work. And then they turn around and hand that money right back to politicians. That's taxpayer money.
Now, somebody mentioned something mentioned on the chat room that you're now being locked up for being off the grid. There was a woman in Florida who was, I guess, using solar and wind and disconnected from the grid entirely. They condemned her house. Is that happening on a regular basis?
Yeah, from California all over the country. That's why I said one of the things we teach when we say the plans is do not go off the grid. Do not build a generator over 6.5 kW. There are certain things you need to know. Now, in California, they just passed that new BS bill about vaccinations, and to a point they are needed if they were real vaccinations. But the only option to stay away from a vaccination is you must homeschool your children. Well, folks, that's a big red flag. Look at what the government's done in the past here and in other countries. The minute you start homeschooling, your home becomes a public school or private school. They fall under federal law. And Homeland Security can come in and say you cannot have a knife, an aspirin, an alcoholic drink, a gun on that property or within 1,000 feet, or you're violating the educational rules. So you're going to be committing felonies the minute you bring your kids home from school to have a home school. Clean your home out and make sure your neighbors know you have a home school, because if they have a gun or a kitchen knife in there or anything, or baby aspirin, without a qualified nurse, that is having drugs or medication within the reach of a child. So, yeah, homeschooling sounds great until you find out how many people are getting busted.
Well, we have, and I should make mention of this, we saw the need for this well over 20 years ago, and we formed the Little Red Schoolhouse with Dr. Jake Wade, and that went on and grew into the Timothy Bible College, so you can get your master's degree sitting at home in front of your computer. You can educate your children. You can get them, they can graduate high school. This is an accredited firm in Texas. And by the way, you might, if you pack up to move again, you might consider Texas, which is just recalling as soon as they find a way to build a vault that I guess ought to be a little stronger than Fort Knox to bring the gold back here. It's the governor has opened up communications with the militias in Texas, and I got to go to some of the militia training camps. They're doing a real good job here in Texas. And I got Fritz Springmeier, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He's finally agreed to be on my show this week. And I told him where I was now in Big Spring. He said, I'm real familiar with Big Spring. I was in prison there. Probably the worst prison in the country in the federal prison system. But that's the probably the source of income for people in Big Spring, Texas, the prison systems here. I want to see the prison systems eliminated.
Well, it gives me great pleasure when I see that New York's got 4 prisons up for sale right now. Just who needs an 80-bedroom house or an 800-bedroom house? You don't need one.
I've said people in my plan for Liberty Villages, I said the Indians had that right. They had it right, man. Take a teepee, put it up, and put solar around the top of it, and you have all the power you need.
Yep. Yeah, I remember years ago an old Indian medicine man. I was only about 20 years old and he was about 80, and boy, he told me stories for 2.5 days. But what blew me away the most was when I first got to his property to go into the teepee. It was hotter than heck outside. My t-shirt was all sweaty and stuck to my body. I went into his teepee. He's got a fire going, but he's got the door open just a certain amount, and he goes a little dust in the air, and it spins around and hits you in the face. And he was causing a vortex inside it to cause chilling inside a teepee. You're sitting 6 feet away from a fire, and it's cool. This is, the fire can give you heat or cool. It's knowing how to open the door and the vents so that you can get the right circulation. And when you have the right circulation, you can have air conditioning. You don't need to have a big compressor.
Well, it's still up on my libertyvillages.org site. I've got the teepees up there. You can get a teepee for about $5,000, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, and live comfortably. You don't like the neighborhood, you can roll it up, put it on the top of your station wagon, and move.
Now, the problem with that is you've got so many idiots out there that they have their homes and they don't want people camping on the property next to them. They want a big, beautiful home that's paying taxes like them. They want to be equals. And it makes me sick to my stomach when I see somebody move into a new home and they immediately say, well, the neighbors aren't clean enough. Well, hold on. You knew that before you moved in. Why are you complaining about your neighbors if they were there before you were? But that goes all the way back to the Indians again. They were here first.
Well,
we couldn't give them any peace. We took their land. And now, anybody who doesn't live like we do and believe like we do, we want to run out of Dodge.
You know, it sounds, I'm sorry, you just kind of moved into one of my pet peeves. You know, this is the problem I've got with religions. It doesn't matter whether it's a Jewish, Christian, or Muslims. They want you to be just like them. Oh, you know, you tell your old lady to put that veil on so we don't have to see her hair because that upsets us. And the Christians, I've said, you know, if you call yourself a Judeo-Christian, you might as well say I'm a satanic Christian. Last time I went to church as I was leaving, I said to the preacher, well, I said, you had some pretty good advice there, but, you know, how come you're not referring to talking about what Jesus told you about the Jews who say they are Jews but are not, are of the synagogue of Satan? I mean, really, what is wrong with people? 2,000 years of history, and the money changers are still running things, and they're still throwing people in prison for shorting their donations. That's all you're getting for your electricity. You can only go to a government-approved agency. It's a 501c3. Then you can make a donation because the government knows where the money came from and how much they got. And you have to play their game. You cannot teach. When I went toured around the country, BYU, the Southern Baptist College up there in Cedarville, Ohio, all these different Christian schools I went to, they were not allowed to have me on campus more than one time. The minute it was found out that I was there, I was told I couldn't come back. Yeah, my friend.
We can only teach what the government allows us to teach.
My friend, Dr. Jake Wade, I was talking that to him. He's the founder and dean of Timothy Bible College. He's the dean of the Little Red Schoolhouse. And I said something to him about that, exactly what you just said. And he said, oh, I'm a 501c3. And I said, what? You're a 501c3? You know, that means you can't do this, you can't do that. He said, I can do anything I want. I wrote my 501c3. They can't do nothing to me. I wrote it. So I can talk about politics. I can let Paul Pantone in here. I can do anything I want.
Well, that could be interesting because none of the other universities in the United States or schools that are Christian schools are allowed to have me in there more than one time.
Well, they've tried to shut Jake down many times. They just haven't been successful.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't got any cojones. That's all right. I'm getting a kick out of all this politics right now that's going on. They're paying attention to everything Donald Trump does, but they're not paying attention to anything Hillary's done. It's like, wait, you really want to put somebody in office that lies, cheats, and steals, breaks all the rules? Okay, I missed something. But that's not the public feeling. That's what the press is saying.
Well, it's kind of interesting now. We've got one Jew that's running for office that may be better than any of the Bushes or Clintons out there. That's Bernie Sanders. And now we've got a billionaire running for president. And he's actually saying the right thing. Trump is actually saying some of the right things about Mexico, telling the truth about the illegals that's going up here. And ought to be an interesting election this next year.
Yeah.
But we still don't have a choice. We still don't have a choice. Charles Collins, and I believe you met Charles Collins.
Oh, yeah.
When I was traveling across the country with him as his bodyguard, his driver, and his speech writer. And Charles died a couple of years ago. I just found out about that last year.
Yeah.
But we don't have choice. And every time he got up to speak at the Republican conventions, every cameraman on stage turned their cameras off. This is why 20 years ago I started the Free American Magazine and this radio show. Why? Because the media lies to you. It's the media and the lawyers and the bankers that are the enemies of this country.
And well, that's what keeps them going. They got to have all the money in your wallet. And as long as they can keep you far enough in debt that you have to work and you have to cooperate, you know damn well, a lot of these guys in the Senate and Congress don't want to vote the way they are, but what dirt do they have hanging over their head that they don't want made public? And as long as there's dirt hanging over their head, they'll vote any way they're told.
Pedophiles. Many of them are pedophiles, and there's videos made of them with these children, and that's looming over their head.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not just the Catholic Church, although they've certainly got their share of pedophiles too.
Oh, I think every group does. Even the atheists. I mean, it was on TV yesterday. The guy that, I can't think of his name now. The one who did all those Subway commercials. All of a sudden now they're all embarrassed because they busted the guy, and they found all the child porn in his home. And on his computer, it's like, oh no, this is our image.
I saw something about that. Who was that again? Whose commercials was he doing?
He was doing all the Subway commercials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and now it was in the news this morning on the Yahoo News that Disneyland is having to pull out the statues of Crosby because they can't have somebody like that as a family image. Right. But Disney can own a porn station. Wow, that's good. What did I miss here?
Here it is. A Jewish spokesperson of fast food giant at the center of child porn sting.
Yep.
All right, let's see. You see over there, naming
Yeah,
names.
it's pretty hitting me, sorry. How about the guy who has been sent back to Mexico 5 times, came up 5 times, just lost cross border, comes back and shoots somebody, and they had him on interview last night on the news, and he's saying, yeah, well, I come back to San Francisco because they don't deport me. I can do anything I want. And he can. He just shot somebody, he's going to walk free. So I do have a problem with some of that. But I've also seen some of the Mexicans that I've worked with over the years, they're a hell of a lot harder workers than any other white guy or anybody else I've worked with.
All
right
right.
now, I've got a black guy out here working in the yard. This guy, he doesn't know. You got to tell him to stop. He'll work until he falls over. So some people want to work and others don't. I don't care what race you are or what country you came from or what your heritage is.
Well, you know,
either you want, you work there or you're not.
Paul, I've said that many times. I'm not racist. I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't care who your grandmother slept with. Doesn't matter to me. But let's see here. The home of Jared Fogle, the man who rose to fame for losing weight on a Subway sandwich-only diet, is the focus of a child pornography investigation that previously ensnared his Anti-Childhood Obesity Foundation. Federal agents raided Fogle's Zionsville, Indiana home on Tuesday morning to serve search warrants in the latest investigation. The FBI raid, which started around 6:30 Eastern Daylight Time Tuesday, included use of a large evidence truck. Agents and officials of the Indiana State Police were seen parked in the driveway of Fogle's home, but investigators wouldn't say whether authorities intended to detain Fogle on any criminal charges. In a statement released Tuesday, the Subway Corporation said it was concerned about the nature of the investigation.
I'm on a radio show. I can call her back. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So at any rate, this is another. Now they've said, Fogle said the foundation severed all. Russell Taylor, the former director of the Jared Foundation, was arrested in April on child pornography. Authorities accused Taylor, 43, of possessing and producing child pornography and confiscated more than 500 videos depicting pornographic images of children in his home in Indianapolis. Now, in April, Fogle said the foundation severed all ties with Taylor. The Subway Corporation said it had no connection to Fogle's foundation and was glad to see Fogle take quick action to distance himself from Taylor. I mean, you got a whole ring of child molesters. Fogle, who is Jewish, married his college sweetheart, Katie McLaughlin, in Austin of 2010. He had a 6-year marriage to pediatric nurse Elizabeth Christie before they divorced in 2007. Doesn't really matter to me. And I'm also working on another story here, Paul, that concerns Eisenhower, and again how the media. Let's see, the headlines here say the cholesterol hoax destroyed the once healthy American lifestyle.
Well, we hit a little bit about Eisenhower during my class when I give classes, and very few people know how it works in the system, but he wanted to build the best highway system in the world to outdo the Autobahn. And he asked Congress to find out what is the best surface we could use for roads, and there was a special committee appointed to review all the findings, and they put all this money out, taxpayer money, to build roads all over the place. 3 of the roads that were built were indestructible, and none of that information ever got back to the president. The only information that was delivered back to the president was using asphalt the way we use it today, so it has to be constantly repaired. His idea was to build that road system, which we could have done originally, for the same price, it would have been indestructible.
What was it made out of?
Any money on it.
What was it made out of?
Well, the first road they tested was made out of rubberized asphalt. It was sand and rubber and oil that was put down and sealed. If you were to take a gas analyzer like you used to test your car and hold it over hot asphalt when it's a hot day, your asphalt will put out more pollution per day than your car does.
Okay. What road surface was indestructible?
There were several. There were ways to build it using concrete, asphalt, or road tar sands. Tar sands, if you put tar sand down, heat it up a little bit, and put it down and pave over it, or roll over it with a big steamroller, you're going to end up with a road that will last 100 years. It will expand and contract without breaking, and then repair needed. But the reason he wanted a road that was repair-proof, so that he would not have to charge road tax for more than a couple of years to pay for the initial road, and road tax would never be charged again. Wow, what a novel idea. But if we can withhold this information from the president because we have a special congressional subcommittee reviewing all the findings, we just throw the good stuff in the garbage and tell them what we want them to do. So when the president is misinformed, it's hard for him to give a good answer.
It's
Eisenhower, he really wanted to build a beautiful road system, the Eisenhower road system. And he wanted it to be a military transport so they could haul stuff back and forth, no repairs, build it right the first time, and we don't have to waste taxpayer money. But that was against what Congress wanted because their lobbying money all comes from oil companies.
Well, it was Eisenhower that warned us about the military-industrial complex. And then, Paul, he had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And that was the day everything changed. 950.
Yeah, you gotta wonder about people who have heart attacks. How many of them are real heart attacks, or how many have been assisted?
Well, we obviously don't know about that, but 950,000 people still die every year as a direct result from this Eisenhower thing. And these deaths are easily preventable, but it's doubtful if 1 in 10,000 Americans know about September 24th, 1955. The events on this dark day triggered a six-decade propaganda campaign, one that misled doctors and scientists to focus on the wrong causes of heart disease, to ignore hundreds of natural, inexpensive, and safe heart disease treatments, and instead prescribe dangerous drugs that actually make heart problems worse, alongside 300 other deadly side effects. After Eisenhower's heart attack, Big Pharma kicked off their campaign of deception. Their public relations experts immediately appeared on TV and told America a frightening story. They claimed there was a devastating new epidemic of heart disease. They blamed excess fat and cholesterol in America's diet. And to confront this crisis, they declared a new war. Every time they declare a war, including the war on terror, the war on poverty, the war on drugs, it's a war on us.
Yeah.
They labeled all fat as evil, especially saturated fats. They demonized an entire category of so-called fatty foods. In turn, the experts proposed radical changes to the American way of life. They recommended that Americans stop smoking, engage 30 minutes of cardio each day, adopt the prudent diet, a low-cholesterol diet consisting of corn oil, margarine, chicken, and cold cereal. What was their real agenda and who benefited? The food company saw a tremendous marketing opportunity and re-engineered thousands of food to be lower in fat or fat-free. And they used Eisenhower to sell that program.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a nurse here a couple of years ago, and we were dating, and she had psoriatic arthritis. And I would see her rubbing her hands and her joints. Oh, she hurt so bad. And I kept saying, let me take away the pain. And this one day, she said, I am a registered nurse. I have tried every medication there is. And some make me sicker than others. Some make me lay down for 4 hours. If you think you can do better than the doctors, show me. So I went in, I got a bottle of clove oil, and I put 4 or 5 drops in a spoon, added a little bit of olive oil to it, rubbed it on her hand, and it's a natural healing agent. So I just used natural things on her. Lo and behold, I see tears running down both cheeks. Within seconds, I said, what's wrong? She said, the pain's gone. Oh my God, can we patent this? I said, honey, anybody in the world can buy clove oil. How do you patent something that's on every shelf? I mean, when I had all my teeth drilled out while they were torturing me at the Utah State Hospital, the only thing that saved me from going insane or dying was clove oil and clove. Every time those broken teeth would get abscess, I'd stick a clove in my teeth. And it takes out the pain, it takes out the swelling, and I'm spitting up all this white stuff. But I'd rather do that than swallow it. So keeping the infection down was easy. But we have so many natural alternatives, and that's why the American Medical Association this last month has really gone after Dr. Oz. They don't want him talking about things like that. You're going to hurt our industry. We need that income.
That's exactly what they do. And you were talking about the roads. What they want is a disposable society. They want to make your cars that break down in 9 years.
Yep.
And
well, Congress has got that bill. I don't know if they passed it yet or not. That because a computer is in your car and the computer program and software is owned by General Motors, Volvo, and other companies, you don't legally own your car. They technically own it. You may not modify that car in any way, shape, or form that might alter their computer program. And if you get caught doing it, they can take the car away. Wow. Gee, that just about puts every wire you can up around the GEET unless you can get an old car. The old cars you can't do that with. There's no computer in them. But they sure destroyed them in a hurry to get rid of them. I mean, did it really make sense for some dealers to say, we're going to give you $3,500 for your old clunker? You know darn well that car wasn't worth more than $200 or $300. But it suckered you into buying a new car so they could destroy the old ones. Because the old ones could be modified to run on anything. But if there aren't any of them left, you can't modify the new ones. If you're not putting out enough pollution, the computer will not let the tranny engage.
Another way to keep the control of you.
Yeah. Well, my little secretary I have here up till this week, she drove me down to Florida for a meeting here a couple weeks ago, and we were driving through Atlanta, Georgia, and all of a sudden, her little thing, her computer in the car says, turn right at the next exit. And I said, no, stay on the freeway. She said, oh, no, the computer said if we got off the freeway and we couldn't get back on the freeway for an hour. It was bumper-to-bumper traffic. It kept taking us down one-lane roads in a big, huge circle. We finally got back to an on-ramp, and I said, I don't care what you do, disconnect that damn computer. If you can't read a road sign, you shouldn't be driving. Now, I found when foreigners come to school, they get off the airport, they follow my instructions, they drive right to my house and go to school. When Americans come and they have these damn Garmins and all these other brands, they get lost, they're 200 miles away or 100 miles away, They can't find the street. If the address doesn't exist, I'm sorry. I don't want the computers. We don't know how to think anymore.
Yeah, I remember being their salesman and writing up a whole list of items that they wanted and adding them up in my head without a computer, without a calculator. Paul, you know, I do the show every day, 5 days a week for the last 20 years. And I've had people on that wanted to, they suggested starting a bank. I think it's a good idea. You know, what you're doing is a good idea. You know, if everybody put a GEET device on, and
we have a new toy. We have a new toy we're playing with here at the ranch for the school, and we're building digesters. And it's a simple little bag made out of just 2 pieces of plastic. You put your lawn clippings in there, and a piping system in the middle of it, and you put lawn clippings on top of it, and you seal the bag, and you pump all the air out of it with a vacuum cleaner, and you seal it. It's in a vacuum, and as the lawn clippings start to digest and heat up, you end up with enough heat for your home for 9 months for free. Now, I don't know how much you pay, but we've had some of the students that have come in here that were paying $1,200 a month for fuel oil in Canada. And now they're not paying anything for it. They love free heat. But down here, nobody wants it. It's just not popular. Too much work. I want to walk in and turn the switch on. We had a lot more freedom a couple of 100 years ago when you had to go out and split firewood if you got cold. And if you want meat, you better feed the cattle. If you want milk, you better get up early and get out there and take care of the cows and wash them down and milk them and bring it in. You want butter? Churn it. Now, everything is done for you. But the more that's done for you, the more you pay. And people keep thinking, oh, well, we're going for a raise. Well, look at Seattle. You used to be able to find a 1-bedroom apartment up there for $600, $800. It was in the news yesterday, $1,700 for a 1-bedroom. Why? Well, minimum wage got raised. Now they can afford. And I want all the money they're getting in their raise. Doesn't make sense, but it's pushing people out of the cities.
Well, that may not be a bad thing, getting out of the cities. You know, if we, and they have really tried to do that. Over 20 years ago, they started the Wildlands Project, and they wanted to get people out of the country. They wanted to get them into the cities. The cities that's where the New World Order lives and thrives. Do you get a warm, fuzzy feeling when you see a cop in your rearview mirror? Why not? They're supposed to be serving and protecting you.
Well, when I first got here to Kentucky, we were driving through different areas around where my son lives, and we went into a different county. And as we were going through the county, they pulled my son over and said, you've got a ticket, an outstanding ticket from 5 years ago in a different state. And we looked at the guy going, what? Oh, my, you know what? God, I forgot all about that. Get out of the car, put your hands behind your back. Well, the second cop car that pulled up, I just met him. He was the chief of police, and he was at the same real estate office I was. And I said, are you going back to that real estate office? He said, yeah. I said, tell him I'm not interested in looking at any homes in this county. I don't like idiots. And if your attitude is, I've got to make $1 because you forgot to pay a ticket, instead of like they used to be when I was growing up, well, why don't you take care of that ticket? They don't do that anymore. It's get out of the car and put your hands behind your back. I don't have the respect I used to have growing up. If I saw something as a kid, I used to run up to a cop and say, hey, officer, there's something fishy going on down here. Now, I don't want to get involved.
The cops and the cities and the courts have become nothing but profit centers for the banksters.
Yeah, well, I uncovered a whole bunch of that dirt on the cops there, the judges in Utah. They have an organization where the money coming in from those tickets is going into a bunch of different corporations that is owned by the judges. Now, if you get on these search systems, you can buy that information. It's about $100, but they'll give you the home address of the judges. They give you everything for $49 or $79. It's well worth it. You find out all the dirt behind these guys because they still have Social Security numbers and they have everything else. And you know how much money they owe in a house, how many people live there, what kind of car they drive, and who they owe money to. But anything else on their tax return is also going to show up. So, in some ways, the computer is an asset. It at least lets you know what the crooks are doing. And what they're declaring, I should say.
Now,
they always have good ways again.
Let's talk about what you're doing now.
Well, when you were a kid, do you remember if you wanted to say something in court, it had to be factual. You had to have physical proof. And back then, psychiatrists were not allowed in a courtroom because that's not fact. It is opinions. Now, the court can operate 100% off of opinions and ignore the fact. When I brought 15 witnesses into the courtroom that all had GEETs running out in the parking lot at the courthouse, the judge refused to look at any of them. He said, if I can't find the technology in a science book, it doesn't exist. I don't care if you all are delusional. I'm not going to go out there and look. But get everybody's name, address, and phone number and get them out of my courtroom. Now, he didn't want truth, in fact. All he wanted was opinions from court-paid psychiatrists that would sit there and go, yeah, he has a problem called blah, 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 blah. Well, it was psychology. Well, you're too fat, you're too skinny. Well, what's the line? Well, it depends on how I feel that day. If you go back and look at science books and health books from 1955, 1956, a guy 6 feet tall should weigh about 160 to 180 pounds. You look at him today, it says 200 to 280. I got a problem with that one. We keep rewriting history. Now we're rewriting science books to say what's good and healthy each day, each year. I think I was 16, 17 years old, and there was a professor at UCLA that was writing a paper, and he wanted 200 extra witnesses to come in and validate his paperwork. But he was going to prove that listening to classical music was better for a plant than listening to that rock and roll garbage. And when I heard that, I was like, are you out of your mind? Well, I went in and listened to what he had to say, and when I wrote my little one-page paragraph for him at the end, I told him I thought he was full of bull. And it wasn't until I was 34 years old, I went and bought 30 plants, put 15 in my girlfriend's room, 15 in mine, and she listened to rock, I listened to mellow music. And my plants were healthy, and so were hers. Could it be that we were putting out a frequency? Not the plant. The plants were listening to the music. They were picking up on our electrical energy, and they were all happy and healthy. The minute I turned my radio station back over to her rock and roll, and I was agitated for a couple of days, my plants looked like they were all going to die. And so did hers when she put it on mellow music, and she didn't like it. So it had nothing to do with classical music. It is frequency, something they're picking up. Can I identify positively what it is? No. I wasn't trying to. I was trying to prove that the other scientist is full of bull. But I think if you took that to college today, you could probably get billions of dollars to research it. But to help mankind? No, we don't want it. That's what I've been hitting now, ever since you and I met, and even before I met you, is I called Greenpeace and Sierra Club and all these great organizations, all these 501c3s that raise money for a cause. So that's wrong with them. Hey, we don't have to have pollution anymore. I got a solution. We can have zero emissions coming up tailpipe. And else, we're not interested. Why not? We want donations, not solutions. People won't send money if they don't see dying animals or dying kids on TV. We want to yank at your purse strings and your heartstrings so that you're going to reach deeper. We don't want to show that we're really doing something and living up to our cause. That's not what we're about. We're about getting money. Yeah, you get that with your magazine. Those that are already in place are the ones they're going to take care of. The family. We can't have a new magazine on the shelf that might become popular. They'll say, we're business. You there?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm just multitasking here. But, you know, I refuse to become discouraged here. I think that because of people like you, that we are making progress. We are awakening people. We are,
yes, slowly.
And
very slowly.
I think we've had the answers, Paul, for well over 100 years. We've had the technology for over 100 years to make this a better world, to make this a wonderful world. If it wasn't for the criminals at the top that are, and I call them the Khazarian Mafia. It really is, and they've been always with us, thousands of years. I think they've been with us for thousands of years. You know, they might have been using us to mine the gold for them 100,000 years ago down there in Africa. They don't tell you about it. They don't tell you about it.
No.
They hide the bodies of the giants that were talked about in the Bible. Go ahead.
Yeah, right now we're saying, okay, we've got to change history. Let's get the Confederate flag out of here. Now let's change this. Let's get rid of this name out of the history books. Let's say there was no winner in the Tour de France. We're going to just change history as we want to today. But what happened to the history books that had the other information in it? Where are they? They're all destroyed. They're burned. They're recycled. Whatever. You can't keep changing what has. You can't. If you don't study what went wrong, you can't correct it. Some people will make the same mistake every day for the rest of their lives. They're happy doing it because that's the way they know how to do it. People will not accept change. It's very difficult to get them to look at something with an open mind. I mean, I've had scientists who come through the class, and after they build their own engine, and they pour the fuel in themselves, and they see the engine running, they say, but no. When you shut the engine off, say, what's the problem? It can't be. What do you mean it can't be? Well, it's not in the science book. This can't run. How do you argue with a man who built it with his own hands, poured in the fuel himself, and the engine's running smooth and clean?
Well, I will never forget the look on the station attendants that handed us the waste oil that you poured in the gas tank.
Yeah. And one after another, they'll all just sit there with their mouth open going, you can't do that.
All right, I have to go warm up my coffee. What I'd like for you to do is tell our audience here not only about your book. We've talked about your book. We haven't talked about the classes. You are still doing classes, aren't you?
No, I'm not personally, except for dealers. If somebody wants to be a dealer, you got a couple minutes here, go get your coffee. To be a dealer, you get a hold of me at Paul, Pantone, Pantone at yahoo.com, or go to my website and shoot me an email by there. And the website is GEET, G-E-E-T, international.com. And we are still teaching people by plans. So if you want to buy the plans, we'll sell you the plans. If you say you heard it on the Clay Douglas show, I'll knock $50 off. The plans normally go for $350. We'll charge $300 if you say you heard it on this show. And we'll also make a donation there to Clay for the time. And I do appreciate getting on there. The book will be announced on the internet at our website. And if you send me an email just to say hi, then your name will be added automatically to our mailing list. We send out a newsletter once a month. Right now we're running a little behind because I have spent the last 28 days nonstop. Whenever I'm awake, I'm working on this book. I'm trying to get the book done so we can have it out to the public in a little over 30 days. So hopefully we'll have it out by the 15th of August. We're trying to beat a deadline, and our deadline is I want it copyrighted and published before the patent expires. The patent doesn't seem to have much strength. A patent will help the government. It does not help individuals. It helps big corporations. Once the patent runs out, it's a free-for-all. But in my case, since GEET is technology and new science discoveries, we're publishing the material so that if anybody infringes on that, we can close their doors. Now, I do not want to handle the copyright like Ralph Lauren did, where he went in and told kids, you can't use the polo name on your shirt, you can't use a polo name in your advertising, you can't have a polo club called Polo. There's certain things that he patented and copyrighted, which he shouldn't have. But it's a lot like anybody is allowed at their home to sing Happy Birthday, even though it's a copyrighted song. But you cannot use Happy Birthday in a movie or in a book. In certain things you cannot sing a Happy Birthday song because it is owned. The copyright on it is good for 120 years. So every time you hear it in a movie, you know somebody's making some good money just for that being on that show. If you want to get a hold of me in person, after the show, you can give me a call at 580-251-0651. If I do not answer, send me a text or drop me an email. My mailbox is full and I leave it full. We have some people that abuse the phone, and they will call 10, 20, 30 times in an hour. When I'm busy, I don't answer the phone. So please, send me an email. I do answer all my emails. The email address again is paul.pantone@yahoo.com. And for any of you who do buy the plans, you are going to be allowed to get a hold of me at any time. I do work 7 days a week from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon at Central Time. And I also do interviews, and all my students who buy plans are getting help via Skype. Now, Skype puts you right in my living room and me in your living room. So if you hold up a part and say, did I build it right? I can tell you yes or no. And it makes life a lot easier if you know that you have that access to me. Get Skype on your iPhone so that you can dial me up, even from the hardware store, saying, hey, I'm looking at these and I'm not sure which one to buy. I can tell you which one to buy. So I'm here to help the people that want the knowledge. I want to move you from that white belt to a black belt. I want you to have the knowledge. And if you tell me what interests you, what are your other personal interests, I've got 650 other inventions that I'm not trying to market. And I might have a few that fit right into your niche. A few things you might be able to do right now without having to come to school or do anything else, and that are very simple.
Let me ask you about the over Unity devices. Now, if you go to on the internet, you'll have half a dozen sites there that tells you, well, you can have the plan for the Hendershot generator, only $49. If you stay on that site or get off of that site, they'll go down to $39 and to $27, and they'll give you the instructions here. But nobody I know has ever done what you did, and that's load one in the back of my Bronco and demonstrate it working. So what is, and you've told me, and I have actually seen videos from Australia of these mass-produced generators that were stackable. They were nice little circular magnetic generators, and if you needed more power than one of them put out, you could put another one on top of it.
Yep.
So
there have been many different models of water-powered cars, and all the inventors are dead. There have been many cars that are over-unity type cars. None of them ever get to market. So if you're talking about it on a radio show, normally it's not going to be something you're going to find for the public to get their hands on it. The government knows that if 100 people buy the plans, there might be one or two that actually build the unit. So allowing me, without hassling me, to sell the plans, okay, they don't have a problem with that. But if I start building kits again, I get robbed. And the police won't even take a police report. I mean, it got so bad when Molly and I were together. We haven't been together in 10 years, but there were a couple of times she was poisoned. Once in our school and once in our home, and we called the police, wanted to file a report. And they came out, and the minute they checked my ID and got a call back saying, leave him alone, they wouldn't even take a report. What do you mean? There's been an attempted murder and you won't take a written report of any kind? Nope. Good luck. And that was it. So you've got all things you're bucking there. And when you start saying over unity, that's a red flag.
At the last...
over unity machine sitting here, I would not tell people on an open line that I have over unity. But I will say I have interviewed all the people that would come to my home or meet me, and I don't say their names, I don't say what the device did, but I have seen things that are at least 50 years ahead of where we are today. And yes, over-unity is very, very real. It does exist, but you'll not get it to the market unless you go through private training with someone who has one. I would highly recommend that if anybody's going to do something like that, ask to see a demonstration. This is why we allowed the GEET to get out like we did, is there are already millions of people worldwide that build GEETs. But some of them thinking they could get this to the marketplace a lot better than me, they went out and started talking about what they were doing. And one after another, they got shut down.
I talked to people at the Tesla convention where you were. We got to see each other there, and I talked to people about that, and they said, "Yeah, we can build it, but we can't show it. We can't put it out here." I just had a gentleman by the name of Woods, an engineer, and he said he's got a coil that he's built, Larry Woods, and but I said, when are we that could be used as an over-unity device? When could we get one here? When could we I promote it here? You can't. I won't do it here. I can't do it here. If I do, they will kill me. I'm doing it in Indonesia. The Indonesians want it because they don't have to run the copper lines, Morgan's copper lines from his copper mines. We don't have to run the miles of copper line. They can just take one of my coils and set it up island by island.
Well, I went to one of the conferences, Tesla, not the same Tesla group, the Tesla group out of Colorado. When I got there to the booth, I had it all set up, and I saw a guy sitting outside with his hood open. I thought he might need help. And he has his truck right next to where I have a fourth kiddo that gets 3 times its mileage, and that was before I realized that was against the law. But I went out there to see what was going on with the guy, and he said, I'm draining my battery. I've got the radio on, the windshield wipers, the headlights, and as soon as the battery's dead, I'm going to recharge it out of energy from the air. And I had a blank look on my face going, oh, really? I got to see this. So he had it sit that way for almost an hour, and finally the lights were so dim you couldn't see them anymore, and the radio had stopped. The windshield wipers had stopped halfway across the window, and he goes over and hooks up a little antenna and a wire to the ground side, pushes a nail down into the lawn, and about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes, the battery's charged up enough, the lights are on, the windshield wipers are going again, the radio's going at full speed, and he hits the gate and it starts up. I said, oh my God, you can pull the energy right out of the air? He said, yeah, Tesla was doing that 100 years ago. And I figured out how it works. It's simple. I said, well, how much are the kits? He said, here to sell these. Yeah, they wouldn't let me have a booth. I got here too late, and I didn't want to tell anybody who I was until I got here. He said, well, $39 each. I said, I want 10 of them. He said, well, hell, I'll knock the price down to $29 each. If you're to buy 10 of them, well, all the parts to make that couldn't cost more than $5, but I'm here to help. Give the guy a profit. This replaces the need for jumper cables. No charger needed. Just hook it up to a little antenna, pull the antenna out, and it's charged. I ran into my wife. It's funny. The time it took me to walk into the building, grab $300 and walk back out the door, he was being hauled off in the back of a Cadillac, and somebody else in a black suit was driving his truck. Never to be seen there again. So when I went in and told J.W. McGinnis what happened, he said, oh, that happens here all the time. At least 1 or 2 inventors at every show disappear.
I talked to the people in there and asked them about the magnetics. They said, we can't. It is against the law. They said it's against the law. There's some rule in there. If you're taking money from the oil companies or the electric companies.
No, the law is the 1951 National Security Act.
Yeah, that's
and it's 1951 National Secrecy Act. And what it does is it says the government has the right to take any invention or new improvement upon anything and claim they need it and not pay the inventor, and the inventor is never allowed to talk about it. Now, that was passed by Congress. So technology like this can't get out if you're trying to sell the technology. I'm selling knowledge. I teach. I sell plans for an education.
Yeah,
but I do not sell property.
That's kind of like the, I talked to the IRS one time about 20 years ago. I told them I'm not buying into this. I will never file again. If you want to arrest me now and take me away now, and I held up my hands, put the cuffs on, take me away. No, I'm just going to rule you uncollectible. And I said, well, I'll see that I stay that way. But they just don't want you to. They just don't want you to know. They just want, and that's one of the reasons they've tried to silence me.
Yeah.
Because there is no law. There is no law, and I've had all of the people on that have demonstrated that. The Red Beckmans. Sometimes, Paul, I'm really honored.
In 1999, you and I met as we toured the country, and we both met at the conference up there in Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
And it was really funny because Bo Gritz was there and all these other people. And you had a booth just down from mine. And I was sitting there laughing because they came over and asked me if I wanted to be one of the speakers. And I said, oh, I hate to insult you, but the last thing in the world I want to do is be a speaker. Here. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you've got about 50 different groups here that all think theirs is the only answer. It's no different than the churches. You have no unity. And as long as you don't have any unity, what the hell are you going to do? You're going to kill me if I gave you any secrets. So I don't want to work with a bunch of rebels that have no unity, no common goal. Learn how to get along first, then come back and ask me. I'd rather teach individuals so that, maybe only one person in a state or two are going to know how to build a gate and make it run good. But if shit hits the fan, at least I know I've taught people how to build it. And they'll use the knowledge when they have to. The problem with that is, when you have to, you may not be able to get all the parts. Because if you go down, so did the rest of the supply chain. You're not going to be able to get the pipe. You're not going to be able to get fittings. You're not going to be able to buy tools. You won't have the electricity to do what you need unless you were prepared. And most people aren't. They don't have a clue. They would argue over the silliest things. They would argue, well, God comes first. No, the family comes first. No, food comes first. No, guns come first. And if you don't agree with me, we're not going to get along. And even when we found guys that had the same exact common goals and standards, they all wanted to be in charge. So they can't get along.
Yeah, I think that was the conference where Bo Gritch tried to threaten me because I wasn't falling for his Randy Weaver story. I said, you know, you can look at it a couple of ways. Yeah, you saved Randy Weaver, but you also saved the FBI.
Yep.
And it was the FBI that called Bo Gritch to try to go to, it was the FBI that called Bo Gritch to bring Randy Weaver out so the militia that had him surrounded didn't kill him. And no, Kaji, Bo Gritch didn't shoot himself. The most noble thing that Bo Gritch ever did was, after his wife shot him for fooling around with Linda Wagon, he took credit and said he tried to commit suicide, but his wife was standing over him when the police got there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's too many of those stories.
And Bo tried to threaten me, but I'm sorry, you know, I volunteered for Special Forces too, and I've got enough training off on the side there that I can certainly take care of myself no matter who you are. And being Special Forces doesn't really impress me, especially if you're a liar. And there were people, even some of the singers, I don't think it was Carl Kling, I think it was Steve Vaught that did the song about the guy that found the Special Forces, ex-Special Forces, that found the prisoners of war, had 7 bullets in his gun, and now there's only 5. And that's the story of Bo Gritch and his search for the MIAs. They never wanted us to find any of the MIAs. They would tell the truth about the traitors like Songbird, McCain, and Bo Gritch. And they also they told Bo Gritch, they brought Bo Gritch in to find what was the guy's name? The abortion, the guy that killed the abortion doctors or blew up the abortion clinics.
No idea.
It doesn't matter. They got him, but they called Bo Gritch in to find him.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we're filled with that.
People like that.
They send it. Go ahead.
I've only had to give refunds 4 times, And in 4 times when people came in that had such a negative attitude, I did not feel handing them knowledge was a wise thing to do. One of the guys that I had to give a refund to, on the first day he was here class, on a 5-day class, he starts talking about how he went through the training program with Bo Gratz, and now he knows how to kill people. Man, I could slice your throat, I could do this, I could do that. And I'm sitting there looking at the guy going, you're dumber than a box of rocks, and you know how to kill. You're dangerous. I wouldn't want you as my neighbor. I wouldn't want you to have knowledge that makes you even more powerful. Because if all you have as a goal in life is to kill everybody, you got a problem. And how the hell did Bo Gratz let you into a class? He said, you just pay the money and you come. I said, oh God, he doesn't screen anybody and he doesn't really care what their mentality is.
No,
that's
and
like
he was...
You know, mentally ill and saying, here.
He was raising money for Linda Wagon, and somebody called me and said, because I had her on my show, and somebody asked me if, Eric Rudolph, that's who I was talking about, Kaji, thank you, Eric Rudolph. The FBI called in Bo Gratz to help find Eric Rudolph. But he was raising money using Linda Wagon, and somebody called me and said, Clay, did you check out this Linda Wagon story? Her story was that her husband had molested her sons, and she was trying to, and had custody of her sons, and she was trying to get them back. And so somebody asked me, did you check her story out? Her story was horrible. She was talking about she came home one time and found her son having oral sex with a Saint Bernard, and she was trying to blame that on her husband. And somebody asked me, did you check it out, Clay? And I said, well, Bo Gratz, they said, did you check it out, Clay? No, I haven't, but I will. And I did. And she wanted to put a billboard up with her son's pictures on it, trying to accuse her ex-husband of being a child molester. And I started checking it out, and I found some of her boyfriends. Yeah, we'll talk to you, Clay, but don't tell her where I am. No, I don't want to have nothing to do with her. And found out she was the one that was sexualizing her children and blaming it on her husband. I called the principal of the school where the children were going to school, and up in Connecticut. And I talked to the principal, and he said, you know, Mr. Douglas, I can't talk about the children. I can't talk about the children. But I can tell you this. If we had any indication that their father was molesting them, we would report it to the police immediately. So here you got an evil woman using her children as sex objects, and then to raise money. And Bo Gratz sponsored Linda Wagon and made a lot of money on it. And I think it was at that conference where we were at, he tried to burn the Free American along with the UN flag. And guess what? It wouldn't burn. It wouldn't burn. I think he singed some pages, but he didn't singe the flag, and the Free American was still visible on the magazine he tried to burn. And I exposed Linda Wagon, and I exposed Bo Gratz. And, you know, this is what they do, though, Paul. They send people in to infiltrate every movement. And this is what I've told the guy, that the rebel that wants to do the banks. I said, you really have to, how do you demonstrate who you are? You don't want your name used. How are people going to know who you are and trust you? Because there's so many people out there that are going to try to rip you off and to rip off everybody and to discredit you. They don't want you forming another bank. And my friend Bill Cooper, before they killed him, talked about that kind of thing too.
Well, we have tried different approaches to marketing GEET, and I've come up with a new one, and it's going to be interesting because I don't believe franchising is the way to go, but a big corporation's gotten a hold of me. They would like to franchise locations for GEET. And I said, I don't think you'll ever get past step one. But I've been teaching it, and there's a lot of people out there that know how to build a GEET and work on their own GEET. And there's a lot of people that they're too lazy to build their own, and if there was a store where they could go and get one built, they'd do it. And these guys are seriously looking at doing a license arrangement with me where they can go in and open a franchise. I have told people for 37 years, don't invest in me, invest in yourself. The best investment you can make is one where you're responsible for the actions. If you don't make money, it's because you didn't work, or you didn't try, or you didn't follow instructions. So don't blame someone else at that point. If you don't understand something, I'm as close as your telephone. You can call and ask me how to fix it. But people get greedy, and they're not happy with just holding classes and making money off selling plans and demonstrating the technology. They want to go out and get 3, 4, 5 times the mileage and sell them in kits. Kits will get you killed. It's pretty obvious. If everyone who's tried it before you for over 100 years is dead or in jail, is that really where you want to head? Yeah, we have hard-headed people that, yeah, well, you think you tried it all. Let me try it. And it takes usually a month or two, and then when they put the wrong stuff up on the YouTube, and all of a sudden they get calls from people saying, you're in deep trouble. A lot of business today. Pull your site down. And if you don't, something bad's going to happen.
Well,
and every time, it does.
You know, my father-in-law, I've had some interesting father-in-laws, some good, some bad. The former Secretary of Agriculture of California, the one that was got in trouble for working with Billy Saul Estes while he was in office with Kennedy, before Kennedy's assassination. I consider him one of the bad ones. He's the one that told my wife after the accident if she came back to me, he would disown her. So she worked for him for the last 10 years before she finally got remarried to a real person. And there was my father-in-law, his name was Sheriff Babcock. Sheriff was his first name. And he worked on the Aswan Dam. He was a hell of a man, 6'4", and he could build anything. He could make anything. Hey, I got this, my trailer here is having some problems. Yeah, you need some more bearings. Here, let's jack it up, pull that tire off. And he slapped a load of grease in my hand, said, put that on it. He built a Pogue carburetor, put it on his truck, was getting 50 miles to the gallon, and suddenly 2 guys in black suits showed up and said, Mr. Babcock, we need you to take that carburetor off of your truck there, and we need you to destroy the one you're building for your neighbor, Colonel Conrad, who was my third father-in-law, after Sheriff died mysteriously. And I said, well, what did you do, Sheriff? He said, what if I don't? They said, we'll kill you. He said, I believed him. I believed him. And so I destroyed that carburetor, took the one off my truck. And then my wife's mother, after Sheriff died mysteriously, she married the neighbor. His name was Colonel Laurie Conrad. who happened to be the Marine colonel that escorted the alien from Roswell to Truman's office. I said, wow, Lloyd, that's pretty interesting. You want to come on my show and talk about it? No, I want to live.
Yep.
And
yep.
They killed him a short time later. When I was on my way there for Thanksgiving. He said, you're a popular guy, Clay. I said, yeah? What do you mean? He said, well, the guys in black suits showed up, wanted to know why I was talking to Clay Douglas. I said, what'd you tell him? He said, I told him I had to. You were my son-in-law.
Yeah.
So I don't have any father-in-laws anymore.
Well, I gotta laugh because looking back 35 years when we met, and boy, you thought this was the neatest thing since sliced bread. Boy, everybody in the world would like to get double or triple in mileage. Everybody would like to have zero pollution. You found out like I have. No, they don't. They're too damn lazy. If it means doing anything. No, I'll wait till it's available at the dealership. I'm sorry. I never saw so many lazy people in my life. And if it isn't in their book, it can't be done. So as long as there's enough people out there to believe that, then my road's pretty clear. It's when too many people start believing it, then I'm going to be a bother to the government. But in the meantime, I can teach the people that want to learn.
Well, that's the hope that we've got. That's the encouraging side of things. You have the knowledge, and you're willing to share it. And so all people got to do, listen to this show. It would help if they would make a donation, you know. And if you want books, books, A Mystery Babylon, The New World Order Unveiled, we'll show you why we have laws against victimless crimes. It's because the government, the CIA and the Mossad are bringing in all of the drugs to this country. It is the CIA and FBI that are the mafia, that are the criminals out there, that do make all of the money off of the drugs. I've got the whole story of Operation Watchtower, which was commissioned by George Bush Sr. when he was head of the CIA. It's the story of Edward P. Catolo and my buddy William Tyree, who is still doing life in Walpole Prison to keep him quiet. And while I had 800 numbers that you could call into, Bill was on my show and told the whole story about George Bush and his partner, Manuel Noriega, and his employee, Bill Clinton, who was in charge of keeping the local law enforcement off of a little airport called Mena, Arkansas. That's all in my book, Mystery Babylon. And you can get it, folks, for $10. $10 on as a PDF file, and read it tonight. But when I first got that documentation from a Vietnam vet in Sturgis, and I read it, I understood what the danger there. And just in case anyone saw him give me the paperwork, I drove all the way back to Florida on the back roads in Colorado, and I would pull over at midnight on the side of a backcountry road, and I'm just lucky that a farmer or a rancher didn't stop to help me, because I would have shot him. All of that whole story is in Mystery Babylon. And, you know, your book will be out a few weeks or a month. And I recommend them read that too. Then once they've got that, they've got the whole story of how they've tried to silence you, how they've tried to stop you, and how to do this. Why are they so afraid of this? And they were afraid of me. I mean, this was the first time when I published that in my biker magazine out of Miami called Riders Exchange. That's the first time I got threatened by the CIA. Just another biker that I'd seen at a few of the runs and rallies. He showed up and said, "Clay, I'm CIA. And we're going to let you live this time, but don't do anything like that again." We vetted all of that about Operation Watchtower with Noriega's trial, so we're going to let you live this time. But of course, what I did next was publish the truth about 9/11 and the Jewish connection there, and then they did try to kill me. Building number 7.
You think that was a conspiracy? You think just because the same guy who owned that building or those towers had the same place over there in Africa that got terrorized or a terror attack, and he owns all these other buildings, just because the same guy owns all of them and he bought them all within a few months of every one of the terror attacks, you think there's some kind of connection? Oh, come on.
Just a little bit, you know. Let's say building number 7. Oh, oops. No plane hit that one. But there'd already been so much loss of life that me and the fire department made the decision to pull building number 7. If you pulled building number 7, that means you had to have explosive planted in it before 9/11.
Yeah.
Not exactly a conspiracy theory, and here he is admitting on national TV that he and the fire department pulled building number 7. Doesn't matter whether it was brought down by an energy weapon. Doesn't matter if it was brought down by explosive put into the building when they built them.
But why did he get paid the insurance if he ordered it pulled down? The insurance company should never pay him a penny on any of those buildings until they could prove how it happened. Yeah. Try doing that yourself. You know, blow your building up that you're living in and say, well, I had to bring it down for safety's sake. And see if you get a penny insurance, let alone 99. Yeah.
Well, they
too
did.
Too many problems, but we are programmed to believe what's on TV.
Maybe it's just a coincidence that the story broke. That was on my March issue of the Free American, building number 7. And it was April that 2004 that the New York Times broke the story about George Bush allowing NSA to tap our phones, our cell phones especially. And it was, but NSA didn't tap anybody's phones, Paul.
No.
It was Amdocs and Converse, and where are those companies based? Oh, Israel.
Yeah.
Plausible deniability there. We didn't know anything about it. That was an Israeli company. And then on May 20th, I called home and asked my son where I needed to go next. Where are you, Dad? I'm on the north side of Phoenix Sacred Skin Tattoo Parlor. Oh, go down 24th Street to McDowell, turn left, go to the wheel shop. It's right there. 2 blocks before I got to McDowell is where I got hit. Rushed to the hospital. Man, this guy fought us all the way. Didn't want to get on the stretcher, didn't want to get in the ambulance. Doesn't sound like I was injured that badly, does it? And then I was kept drugged into oblivion. Got no memory of 3 months in 3 hospitals. Woke up in St. Joseph's Hospital and had 2 visitors. 2 visitors. And I'd been hallucinating pretty heavily, but I hadn't told anybody. Not my wife, not my sons, not my doctors, not my nurses. 2 guys showed up. Hi, Clay. How you doing? You been hallucinating, Clay? Yeah, a little. Why, who are you? We're CIA. Yeah, what are you doing in this country? What are you doing fucking with me? We don't like you publishing that motorcycle magazine. I said the motorcycle magazine. Man, that's just a motorcycle magazine. Free America's the one I expose you spook types in. Why would you care about a motorcycle magazine? Well, probably for the same reason they arrested 170 bikers here in Texas after I moved back to Texas. Well, let's see. Let's take out some of his readerships before he starts publishing again.
Yep.
I call it Waco 2. It's a, it's like they try to demonize me about the militias. Now they're trying to demonize bikers. Matter of fact, I've got that up on my current Facebook site. They've got
you don't still have those horns, do you? Come on.
What's that?
You don't have horns anymore, do you? I'm joking.
But we've got up
on my physically remote. Come on.
Up on the Facebook site, right below the story about GEET's Paul Pantone, which you're listening to now. I've got breaking news that 3 facts have surfaced in the Twin Peaks Waco shooting. That law enforcement engaged in a military-style attack on civilians. They justified it by claiming they were protecting the community from criminal outlaw bikers. They are withholding any evidence that could substantiate the claim.
Yeah.
And there are no more facts available at this time, but we'll continue to follow this story and bring you the live updates as they occur. Again, we're right on top of things here. We are cutting edge here, and I've been that way for 20 years. A little bit more if you include Paul Pantone in it, and those links are up on Free American 69 Facebook site. And I finally, I've had that Facebook site for 10 or 15 years, but I just turned 69, so now it's all legitimate. I won't tell you why I used it before.
I got traffic calls from government agencies, so I took almost everything off my website. It's so stripped down it isn't funny. But there'll be new websites popping up here in the next 30 days, all about GEET and different technology and how to heat your home and have air conditioning and power and everything else. And I won't be marketing any of it. I'm just going to tell people where to go. I'll be a center of direction. If you want to find something, get a hold of me. If you're in better, don't talk to me on the phone about what you have. Make an appointment to come out and see me. I do not trust emails. I do not trust phone calls.
I've got two maxims that I rely on. Every phone I use is tapped, and everybody in a four-wheeler is trying to kill me on that Harley.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you. God bless you, and keep you safe. We're out of time, folks. See you. That's GEETinternational.com, right?
God bless.
God bless.